Sometime around 170 AD, Marcus Aurelius was camped on the Danube frontier, fighting the Marcomannic Wars. He was 49 years old, running an empire, watching soldiers die, and every night he was writing in a private journal that he never titled and never showed anyone. We don't know how those notebooks survived. We know Marcus didn't preserve them intentionally. The text we call the Meditations, that name was given by editors centuries later, was essentially rescued by accident. That accident is the whole story. Because what Marcus was doing in those pages was not writing philosophy. He was arguing with himself, reminding himself, failing to convince himself, and then trying again the next day. Here is the detail that changes everything. He repeats himself. Book after book, the same ideas surface. Don't react to insults. Remember, you will die. Focus only on what you control. The same lessons, restated, as if he hadn't already written them down. A critic could read that repetition as failure, as evidence that Stoic discipline didn't actually work on its most famous practitioner, and that reading is technically accurate. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, needed to be told the same thing dozens of times. But there's another reading, and it's the one that holds up. Seneca wrote letters he knew would circulate. He was shaping a reputation alongside his arguments. Epictetus taught in a school. His lectures were transcribed by a student named Arrian, who published them. Both men were performing for an audience, even when the audience was sympathetic. Performance isn't dishonesty, but it changes the material. When you write knowing someone will read it, you round off the rough edges. You resolve the tension before you set down the pen. You present the conclusion, not the struggle toward it. Marcus had no reader, so what he wrote was the struggle itself, unresolved, mid-sentence, sometimes contradictory. He writes in one passage that other people's vices should not disturb him. 3 books later, he writes that other people's vices disturb him. That's not hypocrisy. That's the record of a real mind working in real time. And a real mind, unlike a polished argument, doesn't resolve cleanly. It circles back. It forgets. It has to be reminded. There's a line in Book 5 where he writes something like, "When you wake up reluctant, remind yourself that you are rising to do the work of a human being, not an emperor, a human being." He wrote that to drag himself out of bed on a cold morning. The audience was himself at 6 a.m. That specificity, the cold morning, the reluctance, the self-instruction, is what no performance can fake. It reads true because it was written without the option of sounding good. Now, here's where the argument gets interesting. The Meditations are often described as calming. People read them before sleep, in grief, in anxiety, and the usual explanation is that Stoic ideas are consoling. The idea that you control only your own mind, that death is natural, that the present moment is enough. Those ideas are consoling, but they appear in Epictetus too, stated more cleanly and argued more rigorously, and Epictetus doesn't produce the same effect. Reading Epictetus is bracing. Reading Marcus is something closer to company. The difference is not the philosophy. The difference is the voice. Epictetus is a teacher addressing students. Marcus is a tired man addressing himself. And there is a reason the second one feels like company, because it actually is. When you read Marcus writing, "You have seen those things. Now look at these," he means himself. But the second-person construction pulls you in anyway. You're overhearing someone coach themselves through a hard night, and the coaching sounds exactly like what you needed to hear. That's not a design choice Marcus made. It's an accident of the private form. Private speech is second person by habit. You talk to yourself in instructions, in reminders, in gentle corrections. It maps onto a reader's inner voice in a way that formal argument never does, and the repetition does something specific to the nervous system. When an idea appears for the 5th time in a text, worded slightly differently, approached from a new angle, the brain stops treating it as new information. It starts treating it as settled ground. This is not philosophy as argument. This is philosophy as practice, the way a musician runs scales not to learn them, but to make them automatic. Marcus was writing the same notes over and over, so that on the day he needed them, they would already be there. And for the reader, that repetition lands as reassurance. Not because the ideas are soft, they aren't. Memento mori, the acceptance of difficulty, the indifference to reputation, these are hard ideas. But hearing a hard idea for the 5th time from someone who also struggled with it makes it bearable. There is a specific entry in Book 4 where Marcus lists the philosophers who came before him, Heraclitus, Pythagoras, Socrates, and notes that they are all gone. Their courts gone. Their empires gone. He writes it not as tragedy, but as fact, as a thing to hold, not fear. He wrote that passage as a reminder to himself that his own power was temporary. He wasn't comforting a grieving reader. He was doing his own accounting. The comfort we feel reading it is a side effect of watching someone else do honest work. So here is the resolution. The question this video opened with, why does an unpolished, repetitive private journal calm people more than finished philosophy? Has a precise answer. It's not despite the roughness. It's because of it. Polished philosophy asks you to follow an argument. Private, honest writing asks nothing. It just shows you someone trying. And watching someone try, someone powerful and burdened and imperfect, trying the same thing over and over with no audience to impress, that is the most calming thing in the world. Not because it soothes, because it's true. Marcus never fixed himself. The meditations end without resolution, because his life did too. He died on campaign in 180 AD, still writing, still circling back. But the practice itself was the point. And that might be the most stoic thing about the whole document.